Hello and welcome or welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in for today's tutorial or tutorials. I'm going to be showing you how to make 6 different crocheted accessories, all that can be done within a day. I did not, however, get this one done within a day. I'm sure it is possible, but I did not get the filet crochet headband done in a day. I think it's because the scalloped border, it took me so long. It might take some of you less time, but I feel like this is the one that I would say would probably take 2 to 3 days. But the other 5 you could do in a day. I did all of those in a day, especially the dragonfly. I mean, you can make a whole entire herd of those dragonfly keychains in a day. But realistically, now that I'm thinking about it, I feel like this one would take 2 to 3 days. So almost all of them could take you a day. I mainly came up with this idea to do a bunch of different accessories for a tutorial video because lately I've been doing so many big projects like knit sweaters. The last thing that I made, that dragonfly baby doll dress, that took me like a month, and I was so in the mood to just whip out a bunch of quick, easy projects, and I was like, I think I should make a tutorial for a bunch of fun accessories, whimsical, fun accessories, because I know you guys will absolutely love that, and I really hope that you do. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the first tutorial. Okay, so this is the yarn that I'm using. It's called Pearly Haze from Hobbii. And I'm going to be using a 5mm hook. I believe it is smaller than the yarn recommends. I think it is. I think one hook size smaller than the yarn recommends. So I have my 5mm hook, I have my Pearly Haze, and I have these gorgeous pearly magical beads that I found at the craft store. And then I have these really skinny, very sharp needles that I'm going to use later on, and a keychain ring. I've actually had this yarn in my stash for quite some time, and I've never reached for it for any of my projects until now. It's literally the perfect yarn for this. I'm so happy that I had it on hand. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to make a slip knot. So I'm just doing a center pull because center pull is the best. And I'm going to go ahead and do my slip knot now with my 5mm hook, which is again one hook size smaller than my yarn recommends. And then I'm going to go ahead and chain 20. And there is my chain of 20. And now I'm going to go ahead and put 2 double crochets in the 4th chain from my hook. 1 and 2. And then in the next 7 chains, I'm going to put 1 double crochet in each of those chains. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, that's a neighbor dog barking. 4, 5, 6, and then 7. And then in that next chain, we're going to put 1 single crochet. In the next chain, we're going to put 1 single crochet. And then we're going to go ahead and in the next 7 stitches, again, in the next 7 chains, we're going to put 1 double crochet in each of the next 7 chains. Okay, so I just finished putting those 7 double crochets. And now in the last chain, I'm going to go ahead and put 5 double crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And now we're going to be working on the opposite side of the chain, technically on the bottom of the chain, into all of those loops, those leftover loops that we have. And in that first loop there, that first stitch, we're going to put 1 double crochet, and then we're doing is we're basically copying what we did in the previous row. I guess it's all the same row, but we're putting 1 double crochet in the next 7 stitches, just as we did on the top of the chain. And as you can see, those 5 double crochets in that final stitch on the top makes the wing nice and rounded. And then in the next stitch, we're going to put 1 single crochet in the same space that the single crochet is in the previous row. And then I'm going to, in the next 7 stitches, put 1 double crochet in each of the next 7 stitches of the chain. And then in the last stitch, we're going to put 2 double crochets. Right in that last stitch there, 2 double crochets. Because now all together in this spot, there is 5 double crochets in total, just like there is on the other side of the wing, counting the chain 3, and then the 2 double crochets that we did in the beginning, and then the 2 double crochets that we just did, and that all equals 5. So once you're done with that, you're going to slip stitch into the top of the chain 3. You're going to chain 1, cut your yarn, pull out your hook, and tighten, and the bigger wing for the dragonfly is finished. So now we just need to go ahead and make the smaller wing. It's relatively the same thing, just fewer chains in the beginning. So I made a slip knot, and I'm going to, for the smaller wing, chain 16. I'm just going to make my chain of 16. And then in the 4th chain from my hook, I'm going to put 2 double crochets. So now we have technically 3 double crochets in this space because the chain 3 counts as a double crochet, and now the 2 double crochets are counting as, of course, each a double crochet. So there's technically 3 double crochets total in this one space, in this one stitch of the chain. And then we're going to go ahead and put 1 double crochet in the next 5 chains. And then you're going to go ahead and put 1 single crochet in the next chain. And then you're going to put 1 double crochet in the next 5 chains, just like we did before. Four and 5. And then in that last chain, you're going to put 5 double crochets. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now we're going to work on the opposite side of the chain and put 1 double crochet right in this spot here, right in that stitch. We're going to put 1 double crochet in each of the next 5 chains on the opposite side of the chain. And once we have 1 double crochet in the next 5 chains, I'm going to go ahead and put a single crochet in the next stitch, which this I believe is my 5th double crochet. It is. And then in that next stitch, I'm going to put 1 single crochet, and then again put 1 double crochet in the next 5 stitches, in the next 5 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then in the last stitch, I'm going to go ahead and put 2 double crochets in that last chain there. And now we're just going to go ahead and slip stitch into the top of the chain 3. And chain 1, cut your yarn, pull out your hook, and there you have the smaller wing. And I went ahead and blocked these because they were curving a lot, as you can see. They weren't laying flat like I wanted. So I went ahead and blocked them, and it made it so much easier, and they laid so much better. So I would definitely recommend blocking them, especially if you're using a smaller hook size than your yarn recommends. And look at how nice and flat that they blocked out. It is definitely worth it. Also, another thing, you're going to want to make sure that you pick a bead that has a large enough hole that's going to be able to fit through your needle easily and also your yarn easily. So make sure that you pick beads that have quite a large hole. I actually found mine at Michael's, so you might be able to find these at Michael's as well if you're interested in the same beads as me. So yeah, they were just in a bag at Michael's, and they were pretty cheap. I think they're just like plastic beads, but they're really nice and they're super whimsical, exactly what I was picturing for this, so it worked out. And now with somewhat difficulty, I'm going to try to fit my yarn through this very tiny needle head, and then I'm going to thread on my beads. Right here, as you'll notice, I'm only threading on 3, but later on I change it to 4, and it would be a lot easier if you did thread on 4 now rather than later, so go ahead and put on 4 now, unless of course you'd rather 3. It is definitely up to you. So I'm just going to go ahead and poke my needle through the middle of my smaller wing, right where that single crochet is, and then I'm going to pick up my larger wing and thread my needle, poke my needle right through the middle of the larger wing, just through the back like that. And then I'm going to pull the needle all the way through until my beads are tucked up right underneath that small wing. And here's what it's looking like so far. And now I'm going to go ahead and thread on the largest bead for the head of the dragonfly. And now I'm just going to grab my keychain, and through that jump ring at the bottom there, I'm going to insert my needle through that jump ring. And then I'm going to go ahead and insert my needle back through the hole of the head, back through the back of my 2 dragonfly wings, and through those 3 beads at the bottom. And then just keep pulling your yarn through till that jump ring is nice and close to the head of the dragonfly, so everything is nice and snug. And then I'm just going back in through the hole of these 3 beads here for the tail. Just pulling my yarn all the way back through to secure everything in place. And I'm doing this individually because it is a little bit easier to do it that way. And then I went ahead and added on that 4th bead, and I really like how it looks better. And now we're just going to take the 2 tails of our yarn, and I'm just going to tie them like this, make a loop, tuck that tail through the loop, and tie a knot that's snug up to the bottom of that 4th bead, just like that. And I do this twice just to make sure that it is really nicely secured in place. And then I'm just going to cut the bottom tails, leaving a couple inches. And that is it. That is how you make your adorable dragonfly keychain that you can hang anywhere you want. Next, we're going to be making these beautiful Peruvian wool fingerless gloves. I'm using this Highland wool yarn from Hobbii. It is a size 3 lightweight yarn, and instead of a 5mm hook, I'm going to be using a 4mm hook. And I also have a 3.5 to do the borders and things like that, but we're not going to be using that right now. We're just going to be using the 4mm hook. We're going to start off by making a slip knot. And then I'm going to go ahead and make a bunch of foundation double crochets that reaches around my wrist. And you're going to want to make sure that your foundation double crochet is a multiple of 3 plus 1. I ended up doing 36 plus 1, so 37 foundation double crochets in total. So right now I'm going to show you how exactly to do a foundation double crochet. You're going to start off by chaining 3, 1, 2, and 3, and then you're going to yarn over and insert your hook into the first chain that you made, into those 2 loops, into 2 loops of the chain, pull up a loop, and then that first loop on your hook, you're going to want to make sure that that one right there is relatively loose. See how I'm not pulling it tight at all? Then I'm going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Then I'm going to make another foundation double crochet. I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook under those 2 loops. I'm just making sure that I'm getting the right ones. The first one is always the hardest. It's just the 2 loops that's right next to that tail of yarn that we had from the beginning. So I'm going to now pull up a loop, and again, make that first loop nice and loose, pull through that one, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And now I have 2 foundation double crochets. I'm going to yarn over, and as you can see, it's already so much easier to see those V-stitches. So I'm going to go into the next one, just like that, pull up a loop, that first loop, yarn over, pull through it nice and loosely, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Then I'm going to yarn over again, and I'm going to go under those next V-stitches, pull up a loop, yarn over loosely, pull through 1. Sorry, I'm going to do that again because I accidentally pulled through 2. Pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through loosely that 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And there I have some foundation double crochets. And don't forget that that chain in the beginning, this one right here, that counts as a double crochet. So don't forget that because we're doing a multiple of 3 plus 1. Just remember that that chain counts as a double crochet. So now I'm going to make another one. I'm yarning over. And as you can see, the V-stitches are so clear now. And I'm going to insert my hook into the next V-stitch. This one right here. I'm going to go under both loops of the V-stitch. Going to pull up a loop, loosely yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And that is how you make a foundation double crochet. And I will also explain this later on when I show you guys how to make the lacy collar. But what we're going to do now is just continue making these foundation double crochets until you reach a multiple of 3 plus 1 that fits nicely around your wrist. So I'm going to continue on doing my 36 foundation double crochets plus 1, so 37 in total. So now I have my 37 total foundation double crochets. So I'm going to go ahead and chain 2, turn my work, and then that first space right here, that first stitch to go into, I'm going to skip that stitch and I'm going to go into the next one, skip this one, go into the next one with a double crochet, chain 1, and then double crochet in the same stitch. So I get this little V shape. And then I'm going to go ahead and skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, go into the third with the same pattern, double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet all in the same stitch. Skip 2, go into the third with a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet in the same space, skip 2, go into the third with a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet all in the same space, and I'm just going to repeat this until I reach the end, and I will have 2 stitches left. So I'll meet you back once we are at the end and you have just 2 stitches left. Just continuing on, skipping 2, going into the third with a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet all in the same space, skipping 2, going into the third, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet all in the same space, and just keep on repeating that again until you have just those 2 stitches left. And now I just have 1 foundation double crochet and then that chain left. So I'm going to skip that foundation double crochet and go into the top of the chain with just 1 double crochet in the top of that chain. And that is how we do our first row. And this is what the first row looks like. And our next row is now the start of the repeatable pattern. And we're going to go ahead and chain 2. Turn our work, and we're going to go into the next chain 1 space, or that V stitch that we made in the previous row. As you can see, that chain 1 space that created that V looking stitch. We're going to work all of our stitches into the previous row's V stitches. So I'm just going to go directly into that stitch with a double crochet, chain 1, and a double crochet in that same stitch. Then I'm going to go into the next chain 1 space, or the next V stitch, repeating that same sequence of a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, all in that same chain 1 space, repeating that again, going into the next V stitch right here with a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet all in the same space. Here's what we have so far. And I'm just going to keep on repeating this sequence in all of the chain 1 spaces, or the V stitches from the previous row. I'm going to put a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet all in the same space. Then I'm going to go directly over to the next V stitch and repeat that same thing, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet all in the same stitch. And I'm going to repeat this all the way down the row, and this is the repeatable non-increase pattern. So this is the pattern that we're going to continue doing for the wrist length, but we are going to do some increasing in a couple minutes just to make our glove wider, because it won't fit us well. If we just continue on with the same pattern that we're doing, it will be much too tight. So I'm just going to continue on doing this same sequence of double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and all of the V stitches from the previous row until I reach the end of this second row. Here I am now at the end of the second row, and as you can see, I just have my chain 2 left. So I'm just going to put 1 double crochet in the top of the chain 2. And that is what I'm going to do for every single row of the non-increase rows. And for the next row, I'm just going to repeat the exact same thing that I did in row 2. I'm going to chain 2 and turn my work. And in that first V stitch, I'm going to put a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet on that same stitch, and in every single one of the V-stitches I'm going to put a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet all in the same space, all the way down the row. And I'm just going to continue on doing this until I reach the length that I want for my wrist coverage, because if you look at your hand right now, you'll notice that your hand is wider than your wrist, and you're going to want to do some increasing just to accommodate for that. So once you reach the length, like you could potentially make these gloves as long as or as short as you want, but I'm just working on this part of my wrist right now. I actually have a picture inserted so you can see what I mean, but I'm working on this part of the wrist right now. So you can make your wrist length as many rows as you want to. I did want my gloves to be a little bit shorter. I didn't want them to be too long, so I'm not making that many rows for my wrist length. And then always once you reach the end of the row, you're just going to put a double crochet in the top of the chain 2. So I'm just going to go ahead and keep on repeating this, repeating exactly the same thing that we did in row 2 for a total of 5 V-stitch rows until I reach the wrist length that I want. So you go ahead and keep on repeating the same thing that we did in row 2 until you reach the length that you want for your wrist. You can make it as long or as short as you want. And now that I've reached the total length that I want, the 5 rows of my V-stitches for my wrist length, I'm going to go ahead and chain 2 and turn my work. And now we are going to be doing an increase in the beginning and in the end of the row so that we can accommodate the widening of our hand. So in that first V-stitch, I'm going to go ahead and put my first V-stitch of a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, all in the same space. But then I'm going to go ahead and put another V-stitch, 2 total V-stitches in that same space. So I'm going to go in that space again with a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, all in that same stitch. So I increased in that first V-stitch by adding 2 V-stitches in the same space. And I'm going to do that again in the final V-stitch of the row. But for all the rest of the V-stitches in the middle of the row, I'm just going to put 1 double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, then I'm going to go to the next one, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, then do the same thing in the next one until I reach my last V-stitch, and I'm going to do that same increase that I did in the first V-stitch in the last V-stitch. So again, we can accommodate the widening of our hand so that our fingerless gloves won't be too tight. So I'm going to keep on repeating this, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet until I reach my final V-stitch. And here I am at the final V-stitch, and I'm going to go ahead and double crochet into that stitch, chain 1, double crochet in the same space, and then I'm going to increase in that stitch by putting another V-stitch in that same space, a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. So there are a total of 2 V-stitches in the first and last stitch of our increased row, which for me is row 6. So now I'm just going to finish the row by putting 1 double crochet in the top of the chain 2. And now for row 7, I'm not going to do any increases. I'm just going to increase every other row until I reach the width of my hand. So I'm going to go ahead and chain 2, and this is what you're going to do in the non-increase rows. We're just going to go into the next V-stitch, which is right there, that chain 1 space, and we're going to put another V-stitch in the top of the previous row's V-stitch by double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, all in the same space. Then I'm going to go into that next V-stitch of the increase, right there. Make sure you're not going in between the V-stitches. You don't want to go in between. You want to go in the chain 1 spaces or the middle of the V-stitch by putting a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, all in that same chain 1 space. And that's basically what we're going to do for the non-increasing rows. Just put 1 V-stitch in every single V-stitch from the previous row. So I'm going to keep on doing that, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, all the way down the row. In the previous rows, chain 1 or V-stitch spaces. And here we are at the end of the row. We're just going to go into the next V-stitch from that previous row's increase with a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet in that chain 1 space. Then we're going to go into the next chain 1 space. We don't want to go in the middle of the V-stitches. We always want to go directly into the V-stitches or the chain 1 space with a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. And then, as always, to finish off the row, we're going to put a double crochet into the top of the chain 2. And that is row 7. And as you can see, it's starting to fan out a bit. So that's exactly what we want. And I'm going to go ahead and keep increasing because it is not quite the width that I want it to be for my hand. So we're going to do another increase row in row 8. Going to chain 2, turn my work, and do that exact same increase that we did in row 6 by putting 2 V-stitches in that first V-stitch of the row and the last. So I'm going to go in that first one with a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, all in the same space. And then I'm going to put another V-stitch in that same V-stitch from the previous row, a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet. So we have a total of 2 V-stitches in that first V-stitch of the row of row 8. And then I'm just going to continue on putting 1 V-stitch in the V-stitch from the previous row. Double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, all in those chain 1 spaces from the previous row until I reach my final stitch where I'm going to put another increase. Here I am at the end of the row, and I'm going to, in that final V-stitch, put 1 double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, V-stitch, and then I'm going to put another V-stitch in that same stitch for an increase, a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, all in that same final stitch. And then in the top of the chain 2, I'm going to put 1 double crochet. And that is the end of row 8. As you can see, the increases are working lovely. And now for my next row, row 9, I'm not going to be doing any increases at all. I'm just going to chain 2 and repeat the same thing that we did in row 7. Just put 1 V-stitch in every chain 1 space of this row, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, in every single V-stitch of this row until we get to the end. And here I am at the end, just repeating the same thing, putting 1 V-stitch in the previous row's increase space, remembering to go in the chain 1 space, not in between the V-stitches. And then again in that final chain 2, we're going to put 1 double crochet in the top of the chain 2. And as you go along, you're going to want to make sure that you're sizing up your fingerless glove around your hand, just to make sure that everything is fitting properly. And here I am just doing that, wondering if I need to do any more increasing. And I am going to do 1 more row of increasing, but you can do as many rows of increasing as you need. Just make sure that you increase in every other row, not every row. You want to increase in every other row. So I am going to do 1 more row of increasing for row 10. So I'm going to chain 2, turn my work, and in that first V-stitch, I'm going to do my increase, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, all in that same space, and again, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, all in that same space for a total of 2 V-stitches in the first V-stitch of row 10 for an increase. And then just continuing on, doing a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet in all of the next V-stitches of the row. And then in the final V-stitch of row 10, I'm just going to put 2 V-stitches in that final stitch for an increase. I have my first one here, and then I'm going to go ahead and put my second one in that same stitch, double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, for a total of 2 V-stitches in the final stitch of row 10. And then, of course, the double crochet in the top of the chain 2. And now for the rest of my fingerless gloves, I'm not going to do any more increasing. You can if you need to, but mine fit me perfectly at this point. So I'm going to chain 2, turn my work, and in every single one of the V-stitches, I'm just repeating that same repeatable pattern of double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, and all of the chain 1 spaces or the V-stitches from the previous row. And I'm going to continue on doing the same exact repeatable pattern that we did in row 2 for a total of 17 rows for me. And if you need to do more increasing, you can. Just make sure that you increase in every other row rather than every single row. And you can make yours as long as you need to, as short as you need to, but I'm just going on for a total of 17 rows, but your row count might be different because everyone's hands are sized differently, so you can make as many or as few as you need. I'm just going to continue on repeating row 2 for a total of 17 rows, remembering to put a double crochet in the top of the chain 2 from the previous row at the end of the row, then chain 2, turn your work, put 1 double crochet, chain 1 double crochet in every single V-stitch from the previous row, and then once you reach the end, your chain 2, you're going to put 1 double crochet in the top of the chain 2, turn your work, and so on and so forth. So I'm just going to repeat this for a total of 17 rows for me. Now that I've reached my 17 rows, I'm going to go ahead and chain 2. And in every single double crochet and chain 1 space, I'm going to put 1 double crochet. So every single previous row, double crochet and chain 1 space, I'm going to put 1 double crochet into that space just to finish off my fingerless glove and just to keep things cohesive, because remember we had our foundation double crochet row in the beginning, and I just want to keep everything looking cohesive. So I'm going to make a double crochet row at the top here, just 1 double crochet in every single stitch all the way down this row. Just 1 stitch in every single double crochet and chain 1 space from the previous row. And then 1 double crochet in the top of the chain 2 from the previous row. And that is it. I'm going to go ahead and chain 1 now. And I'm going to cut my yarn, pull out my hook, tighten that knot, and here I have my first fingerless glove almost finished. Very, very close to being finished. And now I'm just grabbing my stitch markers and I'm putting them in the spots where I want my thumb hole to be, what makes sense for my hand. So you can go ahead and do the same. Just put your stitch markers in where you want your thumb holes to be, and then we're going to sew all the way up until our first stitch marker, and then cut our yarn and then go in that spot right there and sew that together as well, leaving the thumb portion open for our thumb. And now I'm just going to grab a bit of yarn and I'm going to whip stitch up my fingerless glove, the wrist to the thumb or our first stitch marker there. And I'm going to use my favorite method of sewing together, which is whip stitching, but you can use any method that you prefer. I'm just inserting my tapestry needle through both sides of my fingerless glove, and I'm going to tie my yarn in place twice to secure it. And then I'm going to hold both of my sides together, making sure that the rows are even on both sides and that they're not crooked. And I'm just going to whip stitch. I explain whip stitching. Again, I explain it so many times in all of my videos. So if you want to know how to whip stitch, you can look back at any of my videos that I am assembling things together, or you can look up a tutorial on whip stitching or whatever you would like to do. But I explain it every single time in my videos, and I feel like I'm being somewhat annoying explaining it every single time. But just make sure that for whip stitching that you have both sides of the rows on either side, like the front side and the back side, that both of the rows are even together so that you're whip stitching the piece together evenly and that it's not going to be crooked. That's just one thing that you have to make sure of when you're sewing it together. Now I've reached my first stitch marker, so under that final loop I'm just going to insert my tapestry needle under that final loop to knot my whip stitch in place, and you can use, again, whatever seaming method you prefer. Just make sure that both sides are even. And then while this yarn is already attached to my tapestry needle, I'm just going to go ahead and weave in this end while it's already attached because it just is easier that way. And now I'm just going to go ahead and cut that tail. My end is all nicely woven in, and the bottom of my fingerless glove is all sewed together. So now I'm going to sew this top part here, right here, and leaving this thumb portion open. So I'm going to follow the same exact method that I used for whip stitching on the bottom, just attaching my yarn here at the top, double knotting it for extra security. And then I'm going to insert my tapestry needle through the first stitches on either side, keeping the rows aligned on either side. And I'm just going to continue going front to back and then front to back again until it's all sewn together. And now I'm going to turn my fingerless glove right side out. And this is what it was looking like so far, but I wasn't really super impressed with it as it was this way. I just knew it needed something else. Like I wanted to have a lacy border around the bottom and the top, and I also wanted the thumb hole to have the V-stitch pattern going in it as well. So I took it off. I'm like, yeah, this needs some extra work. So I'm taking my same hook that I used for the fingerless glove, and I'm going to insert it right here in that seam right there at the bottom of the thumb hole. And I'm going to attach my yarn in, and I'm just warning you, this part, it is very hard to see what I am doing, and I'm really sorry about that, but it is such a small section, and it is a little bit hard for you to see what I'm doing. But basically, I'm just attaching my yarn, double knotting it here. I'm going to insert my hook back into that space, and I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to chain an extra 1 because that chain 2 counts as a double crochet, and I need a chain 1. So I'm going to chain an extra 1, so 3 total. And in that same space, I'm going to put 1 double crochet. So as you can see, that right there is a V-stitch. The chain 2 counts as a double crochet, then the chain 1 counts as the chain 1, double crochet, chain 1, and then another double crochet in that spot, it counts as a V-stitch. So if you also remember our first row of the V-stitch, we skipped 2 stitches and went into the third with another V-stitch. And since we don't have like visibly set stitches to go into for the thumb hole, you just need to eyeball it. So I'm just skipping a space that kind of looks like 2 stitches and then going into the third, which is not really the third stitch, but I'm just kind of visualizing it best I can. Skipping 2, going into the third with another double crochet, chain 1 double crochet. And it is really difficult to see what I'm doing since there are no set stitches to go into, but it's basically the same thing that we did in the first row, but again without the set stitches to go into. So I'm just going around this small section, skipping what looks like 2 stitches and going into the third with a double crochet, chain 1 double crochet for a V-stitch. And I'm just doing this all the way around the thumb hole, just because I really do like the look of it better without just a big open space. It just looks a lot better adding in the V-stitches around it. I'm really happy that I did it, but it is a little bit tricky to visualize it since we don't have those set stitches to go into. So just do your best visualizing it. it's just the same thing that we did in the first row, eyeballing it, skipping 2, going into the third with a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet all the way around the thumb hole. And you're going to have to do, again, like as you can see me doing, I'm doing some frogging, going back, just visualizing it, what looks best to my eye. And if it looks like there's too big of a gap, then just frog it and go a little bit closer. If it looks too close together, then just frog it and go farther. Just kind of visualize it the best that you can. And then once you reach all the way around, you're going to slip stitch in the top of the chain 2, not the chain 1, in the top of the chain 2, because that counts as a double crochet. And then I'm going to go ahead in that chain 1 space, and I'm going to slip stitch into that chain 1 space. And then I'm going to go ahead and chain 2 again, which counts as a double crochet. Then I'm going to chain 1 for the chain 1, and in that same space that we slip stitched into, I'm going to put 1 double crochet. So it's a total of the chain 2 that counts as a double crochet, the chain 1, then a double crochet all in the same space. Then I'm going to go in the next V-stitch with a double crochet, chain 1 double crochet, then into the next V-stitch with a double crochet, chain 1 double crochet. Just repeating this all the way around our thumb hole, double crochet, chain 1 double crochet in every single one of the V-stitches from the previous row. And I am just doing 2 rows of this. So after this row, I am done, but if you want to do more rows for your thumb, you are absolutely more than welcome to do that. And once you reach all the way around, you're going to slip stitch into the top of the chain 2. Then I'm going to pull up a loop just a little bit, pull that loop up, and grab my 3.5 millimeter hook. And I'm going to chain 1, and in that same stitch, I'm going to put 1/2 double crochet. In that same chain 2 space, I'm going to put 1/2 double crochet. Then in the chain 1 space, I'm going to put 1/2 double crochet. Then in the double crochet from the previous row, I'm going to put 1/2 double crochet. And basically in every single double crochet, chain 1 space, I'm going to put 1/2 double crochet just to make this row, this edge for the thumb hole a little bit cleaner. Just 1/2 double crochet, sorry, in every single one of the double crochets and chain 1 spaces from the previous row, just to make our edge nice and clean and crisp. And then once you reach the beginning, you're going to go ahead and slip stitch into the top of the first 1/2 double crochet. Then you're going to chain 1, cut your yarn, pull out your hook, and you are done with the thumb. And now I'm going to do a row around the bottom part of our fingerless glove. So I'm going to attach my yarn with my 3.5 millimeter hook. Right in the side seam again, double knotting it to make sure it's nice and secure. And I'm going to insert my hook into the same stitch that I attached my yarn in, and I'm going to chain 1, and in that same space I'm going to put 1/2 double crochet, and 1/2 double crochet in every single stitch all the way around. The same thing that we did for the thumb hole. In every single foundation double crochet, we're going to put 1/2 double crochet into every single stitch all the way around the bottom of our fingerless glove. And once we reach the beginning, we're going to slip stitch into the top of the first 1/2 double crochet that we made. I'm going to chain 1 and cut my yarn. And there is what the bottom looks like. And now I'm going to go ahead and do the lacy edge on the top. I'm going to insert my 3.5 millimeter hook again close to that seam that we whip stitched together, and I'm going to attach my yarn right in that spot, double knotting it, and I'm going to reinsert my hook back into that same stitch, pull up a loop, chain 1, put a single crochet in that same stitch. I'm going to yarn over, skip 2 stitches, go into the 3rd with a double crochet, then another double crochet, and another, but that 3rd double crochet we're going to do a picot, so I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to do a picot, which is chaining 2 and then slip stitching into these 2 highlighted stitches in this picture that I highlighted, and you're just going to slip stitch through all the loops on your hook. And then after the picot, I'm going to add in 2 more double crochets in the same space for a total of 5 double crochets in the same space. Then I'm going to skip 2 stitches, go into the 3rd with a single crochet, and that is what our first little picot shell looks like. Not sure what to call this, but I love it. Then we're going to skip 2 again, go into the 3rd with 1 double crochet, 2, 3, and for that 3rd double crochet, which is the middle double crochet of the shell, we're going to chain 2, insert our hook through that front loop, and then that other loop that I have highlighted in that photo, if you need to go look back at it for reference. We're going to slip stitch through all of those loops, and then add 2 more double crochets to finish off this little shell here. Then skip 2, go into the 3rd with a single crochet. And then I'm just going to keep on repeating this sequence of making these picot shells. I just love how they look, very fun. So now I'm going to go ahead and make another shell, just 1 more shell with you. I'm going to skip 2 stitches, 1, 2, go into the 3rd with a double crochet, another double crochet in the same stitch, and another for a total of 3 so far, which is our picot stitch. I'm going to chain 2, insert my hook through these 2 loops, and slip stitch through all the loops on my hook. And then add 2 more double crochets for a total of 5 double crochets in the same stitch. Skip 2 stitches, go into the 3rd with a single crochet. And I'm just going to continue on repeating this same thing all the way around the top of my fingerless glove until I reach the beginning. And once I reach the beginning, I'm going to slip stitch into the top of the first single crochet that I made. And chain 1, cut my yarn, pull out my hook, give it a little tighten, and that is it. I just have to weave in my ends, and my first fingerless glove is complete. So you just need to go ahead and make 2, and your fingerless gloves are all finished. The first thing that we're going to do for our crochet collar is make a slip knot. I am using a 3.5 millimeter hook, and I'm going to chain 3. We're making a foundation chain right now. So I have my chain 3, and I'm going to yarn over and insert my hook into the first chain, into the 2 loops of the chain. Just like that, and I'm going to yarn over and pull up a loop, making sure that that first loop is nice and loose. but not too loose. Then I'm going to yarn over, pull through that first loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Then I'm going to yarn over and insert my hook. As you can see that little knot, I'm going to insert my hook into that V stitch there. It's kind of hard to see to the right of that knot, right there. And I'm going to go under those 2 loops of that V stitch that's right by that knot that we made in the beginning, that tail of our yarn, right there. And I'm going to pull up a loop, making sure that that first loop is fairly loose. I'm going to yarn over, pull through that loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. To make our next foundation double crochet, then I'm going to yarn over again, go into the next V stitch right here. Going to pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through that first loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Repeat that again, yarn over, insert my hook through the next V stitch there, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through fairly loosely, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, insert your hook in the next V stitch, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And I'm just going to continue on repeating this. As you can see, the V stitches are a lot easier to see as it goes on. And I'm just going to continue on repeating this same sequence. And I'm just going to show you one more time. As you can see, we have our foundation double crochet here. I'm going to yarn over, turn to work into the bottom V stitches here. I'm going to insert my hook into the next V stitch in the row, going to pull up a loop, making sure that that first loop is not too tight, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And that is how you do a foundation double crochet. And now I'm going to make as many foundation double crochets that fit comfortably around my neck, but it has to be an odd multiple of 3. And what that means is I did 93, and that is an odd number. You don't want to do 96. 96 is a multiple of 3, but it's not an odd number. So I did 93, it's a multiple of 3, and it's an odd number. You don't want to do any multiple of 3 that is an even number. So I did 93. So you can go ahead and do however many you need. Just make sure it is a multiple of 3 plus 1 that is an odd number. And now I am chaining 1, turning my work, and in that same stitch, that first stitch that we see, I'm going to put 1 single crochet, that first stitch of the row. Then I'm going to chain 1, 2, 3, 4, and go right back into that space with a single crochet. So single crochet, chain 4, single crochet. Then I am going to chain 3, and in that first chain I'm going to insert my hook into that first chain and slip stitch through all the loops on my hook. Then I'm going to skip 2, go into the third with a single crochet. Then chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Go into that same stitch with a single crochet. Then I'm going to do that picot again by chaining 3, slip stitching into the first chain, inserting my hook into that first chain, and slip stitching through. Skip 2, go into the third with a single crochet. That's what it's looking like so far. Then I'm going to chain 4 again, single crochet into the same space, chain 1, 2, 3, slip stitch into the first chain, skip 2, go into the third with a single crochet, chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, single crochet in the same stitch, and then we're going to do that picot again by chaining 3, inserting our hook into the first chain, pulling up a loop and slip stitching through that loop on our hook. Then we're going to skip 2, go into the third with a single crochet, and here is what it is looking like so far. Starting to curve, which is what we want. Now I am chaining 4, inserting my hook into the same stitch, putting a single crochet in that same stitch, chaining 1, 2, 3, and slip stitching in that first chain. Then I'm just going to repeat this same sequence of skipping 2, going into the third with a single crochet, chaining 4, put a single crochet in the same stitch, then I'm going to make a picot, chain 3, slip stitch into the first chain, and then we're just repeating it all over again, skipping 2, going into the third with a single crochet until you get to the end of this row. And now in that final stitch of the row, that chain, we're going to put 1 single crochet. Then we're going to chain 1, and in that same stitch, we're going to put a double crochet. And now I'm going to chain 1, turn my work, and right into this next space here, in between that single crochet and double crochet from the previous row, I'm going to put 1 single crochet. And then I'm going to go ahead and chain 5, skip the picot, and go into the chain 4 space from the previous row with a single crochet. Then you're going to chain 5 again, and again make a single crochet in the previous row's chain 4 space, not in the picot, but in the chain 4 space. Then you're going to chain 5 again, single crochet into the previous row's chain 4 space. Here's what it's looking like. And we're going to continue on doing this, chaining 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and single crocheting into the previous row's chain 4 space right here. So one more time, chain 5, single crochet into the chain 4 space from the previous row, and continue doing this all the way down the row. And now I've reached the end of the row, so I'm going to chain 5, 2, 3, 4, 5, and do a single crochet in this final loop here, that final chain that we did in the beginning of the previous row. And here is what we have so far. Now I'm going to chain 5 again at the end of the row, turn my work, and into this first gap here, I'm going to make a single crochet, chain 2, and now in the next space, the next chain 5 space from the previous row, I'm going to make 5 extended double crochets. So basically I'm just yarning over, inserting my hook into the space, pulling up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And again, yarn over, insert your hook into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, insert your hook into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And repeat this until you have a total of 5 extended double crochets in this space. I have 4, now I just need 1 more for 5. Then I'm going to chain 2, insert my hook into the next previous row's chain 5 space, and put a single crochet in that space. Then I'm going to chain 2 again, and put those 5 extended double crochets in the next space. Yarn over, insert my hook into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, insert your hook into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And repeat that until you have a total of 5 in this space. You have 4, now I need 1 more. Then you're going to chain 2, single crochet into the next chain 5 space from the previous row, chain 2, 5 extended double crochets in the next space, yarn over, insert your hook into the space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. Yarn over, insert your hook into the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2. And repeat that until you have 5 extended double crochets in this space. Chain 2, single crochet into the next space, chain 2, 5 extended double crochets in the next chain 5 space from the previous row, and just keep on flip-flopping this. The 5 extended double crochets, chain 2, single crochet in the next space, the next chain 5 space from the previous row, then you're going to chain 2, then put 5 extended double crochets in the next chain 5 space from the previous row, chain 2, single crochet in the next, and just repeating this all the way down. Here we have our last space, and I'm just going to single crochet into it, chain 2, and then in that last space right there, I'm just going to make a double crochet. And there is the end of this row. And then we're going to chain 1 and turn. Then we're going to make a single crochet in this first space. Then chain 2. And in this first extended double crochet from the previous row, I'm going to put an extended double crochet into that space. Chain 2, and then in the next extended double crochet from the previous row, I'm going to put another extended double crochet. Chain 2, and again, extended double crochet in the extended double crochet from the previous row. And then on the third one, once you have 3 done, you're going to go ahead and chain 2. I accidentally chained 3, but you're going to chain 2. We're going to make a picot. So chain 3 and slip stitch into those 2 stitches that I just inserted my hook into. We're going to slip stitch. Then after that, I'm going to chain 2, do an extended double crochet in the next extended double crochet from the previous row, right here. Chain 2 again, and an extended double crochet in the 5th and final extended double crochet from the previous row. And now I'm going to go directly into the next extended double crochet from the previous row, into the next set. I'm going to skip the single crochet, all the chains, everything, and I'm just going to go directly into that extended double crochet from the previous row, the next one, the next cluster of 5, and I'm going to put an extended double crochet, chain 2, extended double crochet in the next extended double crochet from the previous row, chain 2, and an extended double crochet in the next, and now I'm going to do another picot in that 3rd extended double crochet, going to chain 2, slip stitch into the front loop and then that side stitch there to make a picot. Chain 2, extended double crochet in the next space, in the next stitch rather, then chain 2 again, and an extended double crochet in the top of the 5th and final extended double crochet from the previous row. And now we're just going to keep on repeating this all the way down the row. We're going to do an extended double crochet in the 1st extended double crochet from the previous row. Then we're going to chain 2, extended double crochet, chain 2, extended double crochet, do your picot, chain 2, extended double crochet, chain 2, extended double crochet, and then go directly into the next group of extended double crochets from the previous row and repeat the exact same thing. So I'm going to keep on doing this all the way down the row, and I will see you once we are both at the end. And here we are at the end. I'm going to go ahead and chain 2, then make a single crochet in this final loop here of chains. Then I'm going to go ahead and chain 1, turn my work. And then in this first space, this one right here, I'm going to put a single crochet into that space. Then I'm going to chain 5, skip the first extended double crochet from the previous row, and go into the second with a single crochet. Chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Skip the picot, extended double crochet that's next. Skip that stitch, go into the next with a single crochet. Then I'm going to chain 5 again. and I'm going to skip the next 2 extended double crochets, this one and this one, and I'm going to single crochet in the next. Then I'm going to chain 7, one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, skip the next picot extended double crochet, skip that stitch, go into the next with a single crochet. Chain 5, skip the next 2 extended double crochets, and go into the next, the one right before the picot, and single crochet into that extended double crochet. Then you're going to chain 7, skip the next picot extended double crochet, skip that stitch, and go into the next with a single crochet. Then you're going to chain 5 again, skip the next 2 extended double crochets, go into the next with a single crochet, the extended double crochet that's right before the picot one, and then you're going to chain 7, then skip the picot extended double crochet and go into the next one with a single crochet. And we're just going to be repeating this all the way down the row, this same exact sequence. And you can rewind if you need to. Basically, you're just going to chain 5, then single crochet in the extended double crochet that is right before the picot stitch. Right before that picot extended double crochet, you're going to single crochet, then you're going to chain 7, and you're going to skip the picot extended double crochet and single crochet in the extended double crochet from the previous row that is to the left of that picot. And just keep on repeating this. And now once we've reached the end of the row, and I'm going to go ahead and chain 2, and in that single crochet from the previous row, I'm going to put a double crochet right in that single crochet from the previous row. Then chain 1 and turn your work. And in that next space, you're going to make a single crochet, chain 2, and in this next chain space here, you're going to make 7 extended double crochets. Those extended double crochets that I showed you earlier on in this part of the tutorial, you're just going to make 7 of those in this next space. Then you're going to chain 2, and in this next space, you're going to put a single crochet in the next chain space. Then you're going to chain 2 And in that next long chain space there, over the picot, you're going to put your 7 extended double crochets. And there I have my 7 extended double crochets. So I'm going to go ahead and chain 2, go into the next space, the chain space from the previous row, chain 2, and in that chain 7 space over the picot from the previous row, that chain 7 space from the previous row, I'm going to put those 7 extended double crochets, and I'm going to continue on doing this, putting 7 extended double crochets in the chain 7 from the previous row. Then I'm going to chain 2, and in the chain 5 from the previous row, I'm going to put a single crochet, then chain 2 again, and then put those 7 extended double crochets in the chain 7 space, the space that's over the picot there. And I'm going to put 7 extended double crochets in that, and I'm going to keep on repeating the sequence all the way down the row. And once I've reached the end of the row, I'm going to chain 2, and in that final chain space of the row, I'm just going to put a single crochet right in that space. Then I'm going to chain 1 and turn my work. And in that next space there, I'm just going to put a single crochet. And then I'm going to go ahead and chain 3. One, 2, 3. And I'm going to slip stitch into the first chain that I made. Then in the next extended double crochet from the previous row, I'm going to put an extended double crochet and chain 3. Then I'm going to slip stitch into the first chain to make a picot. Then I'm going to do an extended double crochet in the next extended double crochet from the previous row. Then I'm going to chain 3 and make a picot. Another extended double crochet in the next extended double crochet from the previous row, chain 3, slip stitch into the first chain to make a picot, and just keep on repeating this in all 7 of the extended double crochets in this shell, putting an extended double crochet in the top of the previous rows, chaining 3 and slip stitching into the first chain to make a picot. And continuing this 7 times, putting 1 extended double crochet with a picot in each of the extended double crochets from the previous row's shell. Chaining 3, 1, 2, 3, slip stitching into the first chain, and here I am on my last one of this shell, so I have 7 in total. Chaining 3 and doing my picot. And there's what that's looking like. And then we're going to go directly into the next extended double crochet shell from the previous row, and we're going to do the exact same thing, putting 1 extended double crochet in every single extended double crochet from the previous row, but we're going to chain 3 and slip stitch into the first chain to make a picot this time around. So I'm just going to keep on repeating that, putting 1 extended double crochet, chaining 3, slip stitching into the first chain until I have 7 total extended double crochets with a picot. and doing this in every single extended double crochet from the previous row. Just one extended double crochet in every single extended double crochet from the previous row. All of these, skipping that section, the single crochet is just going in every single extended double crochet, remembering to chain 3 and slip stitch into the first chain to make a picot. And I'm going to do this until I reach the end of my row. And now I've reached the end of my row, so I'm just going to slip stitch into that previous row's single crochet. Now the main part of the collar is finished, so we're just going to do some finishing touches like putting in some single crochets along this edge here to make it look a lot more clean and neat. It looks a little wonky right now. So I'm going to go ahead and get started by chaining 1. And then in the next gap, the next available gap, I'm going to put 1 single crochet and just eyeball this. You can put maybe 2 in the bigger spaces, and then in this next small space just put 1. Just eyeball it as you need. This space probably needs 2 because it's a little bigger, but if it looks too bulky, then I would frog it and just put in 1 there. Basically, there's no set rule on this since there are no set stitches to go into, so just do your best by eyeballing it. And once you reach the end of the side here, you're going to put 2 single crochets in that final side stitch for the corner. And now we reach our foundation chain, the underneath side of our foundation chain. So in that first stitch, I'm going to put a single crochet in that first stitch of the foundation chain. And then I'm going to go ahead and chain 3, because we're going to make another picot, and I'm going to slip stitch into the first chain, just like we've been doing for most of our picots. Then I'm going to go into the next stitch with a single crochet, and the next stitch with a single crochet, and the next, but this one we are going to do another picot, so I'm going to chain 3 again, slip stitch into the first chain to make a picot, and then in the next 2 stitches, I'm going to just make 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches. And then in the third is going to be our single crochet with a picot. So I'm going to put another single crochet in that next stitch, but I am going to chain 3 and slip stitch into the first chain to make that picot. And I'm going to continue on doing this all the way down the underneath side of the bottom side of our foundation chain. I'm just going to put 2 single crochets, and in the third single crochet I'm going to chain 3 and slip stitch into the first chain to make a picot. So 2 regular single crochets sandwiched in between that picot single crochet. So 2 regulars, then the third one is a picot, then 2 regular single crochets, the third one's a picot, and just continuing this all the way down the bottom side of our foundation double crochet that we made in the beginning. 1 single crochet in the next stitch, another single crochet in the next, and again in that third stitch you're going to put a single crochet, but you're going to chain 3 and slip stitch into the first chain to make a picot, and just keep on repeating this sequence all the way down the underneath of our foundation double crochet that we made in the beginning, just to give this edge a little more fanciness. And then in that final stitch, once we reach the end, I'm going to put 2 single crochets for the corner just like we did on the other side. And now we've reached the side that is all wonky, remember? So we're going to do the same thing that we did on the other side by putting some single crochets in to make that edge look a lot cleaner, and just eyeball it the same way that you did on the other side. It doesn't matter how many you put in, just as long as it doesn't look too bulky in areas or too sparse? It's not sparse, it's sparse, I think. Too sparse? But why does it sound so weird? Anyway, you know what I mean. I'm just making sure that it looks nice and even. And then once you reach the end of the side. There we have it, looking much more even. You're going to go ahead and just slip stitch into that single crochet there, that stitch that we see from that final row of the collar that we did. We're just going to slip stitch in that single crochet. We're going to chain 1, cut our yarn, and that is pretty much it. Now we just have to do the ties. But this is what our collar is looking like. I am so happy with it. I'm just going to go ahead and weave in my ends first before I add in the ties. And now we're going to go ahead and add in our ties right in this end stitch right here where the picots are. Right there where that picot row is that we just made. I'm just going to add my yarn in, tie it in nice and tight, and this is where our ties will be, right in that same row as that picot single crochet row that we just made, and it's right at the end of either side of that row. And I'm just going to insert my hook into that stitch that I attached my yarn in. I'm going to go ahead now and chain 75 chains for my tie. And I'm going to make the chains relatively tight. I don't want them to be super loose. And you can chain however many that you need, but I went ahead and just chained 75 on each side for each of my ties. And once I reach 75 chains, I'm going to go ahead and cut my yarn and pull out my hook, give it a good tighten to make sure that it's knotted properly, and then I'm just doing the same thing again on the other side, attaching my yarn in at the very end of the single crochet picot row that I did, right here in this single crochet right next to that first picot of the row here. Just attaching in my yarn and chaining those 75 chains again for my ties. Doing the same thing that I did on the other side, but now I'm doing it on this side. And then once I reach 75, I'm going to cut my yarn, pull out my hook, tighten it nicely, and then I'm going to hold both of my ties together, and I'm just going to cut those tails of yarn at the same spot so they're both the same length. And that is it. That is how you make this beautiful lacy detachable collar that you can style with a sweater or a button-up, a dress. It is so beautiful and I hope you love it. And now I'm going to show you guys how to make this extremely simple accessory that can be styled as a skinny scarf, a belt, or a headscarf. Honestly, there's probably other ways that I'm not even thinking of, but these are the two yarns that I used for my skinny scarf. This very thin mercerized cotton from Aunt Lydia's, and this very thin sequin yarn that I got from my local craft store, and I paired it with, I believe, a 5mm hook. But when I went to film for the tutorial, it was just so hard to see this yarn, so I'm just using a thicker yarn here for the tutorial part, just so you guys can see it better. And I'm starting off with a slip knot and a chain of 3 because we are making a foundation double crochet. I did show you guys how to do this, I think twice already in the video, so I'm not going to show you again, but you can reference back in a couple of the other tutorials if you want to know how to make a foundation double crochet. And I'm just making 11 foundation double crochets, but don't forget that the chain 2, that beginning chain 2 that we have, that counts as one of the foundation double crochets. So make sure to include that in your count because it counts as one. And I'm just making 11 total. So you go ahead and make however many you need. Just make sure that it is an odd number because you do need it to be an odd number. But I just made mine 11 because I did want it to be relatively skinny to use it for a skinny scarf or the headscarf, and also so it could fit through belt loops if I wanted to make it into a belt, which I really like the look of that as well. So yeah, I really did think that the chain of 11 worked well, but you can make however many that you need. Again, that yarn in the beginning is what I used. I didn't use this yarn. It was much too thick for what I wanted. I would definitely recommend using a thinner yarn and then a larger hook if you want it to be more drapey. I believe I used a 4.5 or 5 millimeter hook. Right here I'm using a 5 millimeter hook, but that's just because it's what I had on my desk, and this is just for the example. I frogged it right after, but I love using this hook because it's glittery and fun, so why not? Anyway, so go ahead and make your foundation double crochet of 11, and don't forget that that chain 2 in the beginning counts as one of the foundation double crochets. And now I'm going to go ahead and chain 2, which counts as a double crochet, but then I also need a chain 1. So I'm going to chain 1, and that chain 2 counts as a double crochet, so we're not going to go into that first stitch, but we're also not going to go into the next stitch because this row is a mesh stitch. So we're skipping that first one because our chain 2 is in that stitch. That counts as a double crochet. We're going to skip the next stitch and then go into the next with a double crochet. And here's our first little mesh box. Then I'm going to chain 1, skip a stitch, go into the next with a double crochet. Chain 1, skip a stitch, go into the next with a double crochet. Chain 1, skip a stitch, go into the next with a double crochet. Chain 1, skip a stitch, and go into the top of the chain 2 with a double crochet. And there we have our second row. And then I'm going to chain 2, turn my work. That chain 2 counts as a double crochet. So I'm going to go into the chain 1 space, that next chain 1 space with a double crochet. Then into the top of the previous row's double crochet with a double crochet. Then the chain 1 space, basically just every single stitch I'm just going to go into with a double crochet. And by the end of the row, you should have 11 double crochets. Don't forget to count that chain 2 as one of the double crochets. So you should have 11 by the end of this row. And here we are at our final chain 1 space. But do not forget, in the top of the chain 2 that counts as a double crochet, you're going to put your final double crochet. And now I'm just going to chain 2 that counts as a double crochet. And then remember, this is going to be a mesh row, so I need to chain 1 again. Skip that first stitch because it counts as the double crochet. Skip the next one for the mesh. Go into the next with a double crochet. Chain 1, skip a stitch, go into the next with a double crochet. Chain 1, skip a stitch, go into the next with a double crochet. Chain 1, skip a stitch, go into the next with a double crochet. And chain 1, skip a stitch, go into the top of the chain 2 with a double crochet. And that is virtually it. That is the essence of this pattern. You're just skipping back and forth from mesh rows and non-mesh rows. So now we're on a non-mesh row, so we're just going to chain 2 and put 1 double crochet in the next chain 1 space, remembering that the chain 2 counts as a double crochet. And we're just going to put 1 double crochet in every single stitch for this row, and then the next row is just that same mesh stitch, just double crochet, chain 1, skip, double crochet, chain 1, skip. And for this row, we're just doing, the 1 double crochet in every single stitch, making sure that we put our final double crochet into the top of the chain 2. We don't want to forget that because the row looks done, but you don't want to forget to put a double crochet in the top of the chain 2. If you need to count your stitches, you totally can do that, but just make sure that you have those 11 stitches that you had in the beginning. And now we're on a mesh row because we're just flip-flopping back and forth. So for the mesh rows, we chain 2 for a double crochet, then we need the chain 1, skip the first stitch because it's the double crochet, counts the double crochet, then we're going to skip the next stitch for the mesh and go into the next with a double crochet, chain 1, skip the next stitch, go into the next with a double crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, go into the next with a double crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, go into the next with a double crochet, chain 1, skip, and go into the top of the chain 2 with a double crochet. And we're just flip-flopping these same patterns. The next row we're going to chain 2 and put a double crochet in every single stitch, and then the next row is going to be the mesh, and just repeating this for however long you want your skinny scarf to be. And I just kept going for quite some time with mine. It took really less than a day for me to finish because these rows are so fast and mindless and just quick to do. I think this is the easiest pattern because it's literally the same rows over and over and over again. One thing to note though, because our first row was the foundation double crochet row, just to make the ends and the beginnings of the end and the beginning of the scarf to match, you're going to want to end on a 1 double crochet in every stitch row, like the row that I'm doing right now. You're going to want to end on this row just so that the beginning and ends of the scarf matches. So yeah, you're just going to repeat this exact same thing, not forgetting to put your final double crochet in the top of the chain 2. So yeah, that is how you make the cutest skinny scarf, headscarf, belt combo. If there are any other ways that you can think of styling this, let me know in the comments because I feel like there just has to be more. The yarn that I'm using for this project is again the Hobie 8/4 cotton, and I'm using a half a hook size smaller than the yarn recommends. And I'm starting with a slip knot and a chain of 4. And I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into the first chain to make a circle. This is like an alternative method to the magic circle, and in my opinion it's a little bit stronger and sturdier than a magic circle, so I like using this method. And as you can see, it creates a little circle in the middle that we can put our double crochets into. So now I'm going to go ahead and make a chain of 3, and that's going to count as our first double crochet, and chain 1. So the chain 2 is counting as a double crochet and the chain 1 counts as a chain 1. And in the center, I am going to put another double crochet in the center of our ring. And I'm going to chain 1, another double crochet in the center of the ring, chain 1, double crochet in the center of the ring, and chain 1. And we're just going to continue on doing a double crochet, chain 1, double crochet, all into the little circle that we made in the beginning. And we're going to keep going doing this double crochet, chain 1, double crochet until we have a total of 12 double crochets. And do not forget that that beginning chain 2 counts as a double crochet. So now I have my total of 12 double crochets, but make sure that you count them once you are done to make sure that you have the 12 that you need. So now I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into the top of the chain 2. And there is what we have so far. And now I'm going to go ahead and into that next chain 1 space, I'm going to slip stitch right into that space. And then I'm going to chain 5. And in the next chain 1 space, I'm going to slip stitch into it. Then I'm going to chain 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then slip stitch into the next chain 1 space, Then I'm going to chain 5 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Slip stitching into the next chain 1 space. And I'm going to continue doing this all the way around. Chain 5, slip stitch into the next chain 1 space. Chain 5, slip stitch into the next chain 1 space until I have a total of 12 of these chain 5 loops. So I'm just going to do this all the way around. And now that I've reached all the way around and I have my 12 chain 5 loops, I'm going to go ahead and slip stitch into that beginning slip stitch that I made with that first chain of 5. Remember how we slip stitched into the first chain 1 space? I'm just going to slip stitch into that slip stitch from the beginning. It's kind of tricky, so make sure that you make those beginning slip stitches a little bit looser so you can easily slip stitch into it at the end. And now I'm just slip stitching into the beginning chain 5 chain just so I can get to the middle of that first loop there. So I just took one of the chains, slip stitched into it just so I could be more towards the middle, and I'll show you that a little bit better as our loops get bigger. But now I'm going to go ahead and chain 6, slip stitch into the next chain 5 space, chain 6 again. The previous row we chained 5, now we're just increasing by 1 and chaining 6, slip stitching into the next chain 5 space, chain 6, slip stitch into the next chain 5 space, chain 6, then you're going to slip stitch into the next chain 5 space from the previous row and continue this all the way around until we have 12 chain 6 loops. And here I've made it all the way around, and remember that last slip stitch that we made right before chaining 6? We're going to go ahead and slip stitch into that final slip stitch that we made at the beginning of the row, the slip stitch that we made right before chaining 6. Let me grab my tapestry needle just to show you a little bit better of where that is. This slip stitch right here, the one right before the chain 6. And remember to make it relatively loose-ish, just so it's easier to slip stitch into once you make it all the way around the row. But you can always loosen it up with your tapestry needle as well. That does help loosen it up to be able to get your hook in there, but make sure that it's not super tight. It just makes it harder. So once I've made it all the way around and I have my 12 chain 6 loops, I'm just going to slip stitch into that beginning slip stitch that I showed you. And now, as you can see, we need to make it to the middle of this chain 6 space here. We need to make it to the middle because we want to be able to slip stitch into the middle to have all of our loops coming out the middle. So to do that, I just need to slip stitch into the chains here of this loop. So I'm just going to slip stitch into the back loop of a couple of these chains just until I get to the middle of this loop. So I'm probably going to do about 2 to make it to the middle, but once the loops get larger, once we need to chain more, you're going to need to do more slip stitches to get to the middle. But as you can see here, I'm pretty much in the middle. So once you make it to the middle, you're just going to slip stitch directly into this space. So I ended up doing one more, and yeah, that's better, definitely more in the middle. So once you reach the middle, you're just going to go directly into the loop to do your first slip stitch. And this slip stitch that you do directly into the loop, that's the one that you want to make loose. As you can see, I tightened it. That probably wasn't the best idea, but the one that you do directly into that space right before you do your chains, that's the one that you want to make sure is relatively loose. So after that slip stitch, you're going to chain 7, then you're going to slip stitch into the next chain 6 space from the previous row, just directly into the space. Then you're going to chain 7 again, and as you can probably tell, the sequence is that we're just increasing by 1 chain per row. So now we're just chaining 7 for this row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and slip stitching into the next chain 6 space from the previous row, slip stitching there, chain 7, slip stitch into the next space, chain 7, slip stitch into the next space, all the way around. And I'm just going to keep going until I have 12 chain 7 loops. And here I've made it all the way around, and we're just going to slip stitch into that final slip stitch that we made at the beginning of the row, the one that I said to make sure that you don't tighten too much, so it's a little bit easier to get your hook into it. See, I tightened mine, so it's a little bit harder to get my hook in there. So just make sure that that final slip stitch that you do directly into the chain space, just make sure that that slip stitch is not too tight. I keep tightening them. I don't know why I keep doing that. Okay, so now remember we need to make our slip stitch at the middle of this chain. So I'm just going to go in the back loops of this first chain 7 from the previous row. I'm just going to go do some slip stitches into the back loops of these chains until I reach the middle of this chain 7 space. As you can see, I'm not quite there yet. So I'm just going to keep slip stitching into the back loops of the chain until I get to the middle. I probably could have done one more, but I'm not going to. And this is the slip stitch that you don't want to make too tight. So we're just going directly into the space with a slip stitch, and that is the slip stitch that you're going to be going into at the end. Just go directly into that space, and now we're going to be chaining 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Just increasing by 1. So I chained 8, and I'm going to slip stitch into the next chain 7 space from the previous row. Then I'm going to chain 8 again, and slip stitch into the next space, into the next chain 7 space. Then I'm going to chain 8 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Slip stitch into the next space, and just keep on repeating the same thing, but making sure to chain 8 this time. And the reason that I like to use a smaller hook size than my yarn recommends is because it just makes the chains a lot tighter, and I just like the look of that better. Just wanted to add that note in because I forgot to say it in the beginning. But I'm going to continue on doing this, chain 8, slip stitch, chain 8, until I reach the beginning, and I'm going to slip stitch into that final slip stitch that I made directly into the space there, the one right before the chain 8, and I'm just going to slip stitch right into that. Hopefully soon I remember that I need to stop making the slip stitches so tight, but apparently I'm not remembering. So I'm just slip stitching into that slip stitch that I just mentioned. And now I'm going to do the same thing of slip stitching into the back loops of this first chain 8 loop from the beginning of the previous row. And I'm just going to slip stitch into those back loops until I reach the middle of this chain 8 loop. And as you can see, we're making more than we did in the beginning because now our chains are longer, so we need to make more slip stitches to get to the middle. Just make however many that you need to get there. Doesn't matter how many that you do, just as long as you get to relatively the middle of the loop. All right, so now I'm at the middle, so I'm going to go directly into that space with a slip stitch. And I think I remembered to not keep that one as tight, which is good because that's the one that we're slip stitching into at the end. So now I'm going to increase by 1 again and just chain 9 this time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I'm then going to slip stitch into the next space right here. That space right there. I'm slip stitch right into that. And I'm going to chain 9 again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Slip stitch into the next space, next loop, and then chain 9 again, and slip stitch into the next loop, chain 9 again, slip stitch into the next loop until I have a total of 12 chain 9 loops. And now I've reached the beginning. I've made all my chain 9 loops, and I'm just going to slip stitch into that last slip stitch that I made at the beginning of the row. And then again, I'm just going to slip stitch in the back chains of this next chain loop here. Just going to slip stitch into the back of those chains until I get to the middle right there. Just slip stitching into the back of these chains. All right, so now I've reached the middle. So I'm just going to go directly in to this loop to make a loose slip stitch. I feel like I've learned by now to make them looser. I was just tightening them by habit. So now I'm going to chain 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Slip stitch into the next chain 9 space from the previous row. And now, as you can see, we are following this pattern of just increasing our chain amount by 1 every single row until we reach the diameter of the inches amount that we need for our specific head size. So I'll explain all the sizing in just a moment, but for this row we're just going to chain 10, slip stitch into the next chain 9 space, chain 10, slip stitch into the next chain 9 space, and just repeat the same thing that we've been doing. And this is the same for every single row until you do reach the diameter of your head. So I am probably going to stop explaining every single row because it's literally the same exact thing, just increasing by 1 chain per row. So the first row is 5, then 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and I go all the way to 15 for my specific head size. And you might need to have more or less. I do have a fairly large head, so I needed to go to 15, but you might need, again, more or less, just depending on your head size. And now I've reached the beginning of my chain 10 row, so I'm just going to slip stitch into that final slip stitch that we made directly into this space at the beginning of the row. And then I'm going to do my slip stitches into the back loop of the chain to get to the middle of that first loop there. And this is the same procedure that we're going to continue doing again until we reach the diameter that we need. And I will show you that chart in just a couple moments, but I need to keep making mine bigger. I do go up to 15 chains, so this is 11 now. We're on 11 chains, and I need to go all the way up to 15. So here I am just doing those slip stitches that I need to do to get to the middle of the first loop. There we go. And now instead of chaining 10, I'm going to be chaining 11, just increasing my count by 1 every single row. Then I'm going to slip stitch into the next loop, chain 11, slip stitch into the next loop, all the way around. And this is the same procedure as you continue on with your hat, just increasing the count by 1 every single row until you reach the diameter that you need, and I will explain that in just a moment. So let me just run through that really quickly again, what you guys need to do for the rest of your diameter of the hat. We're just going to keep doing our chains, increasing by 1, slip stitching into the next space, doing our chains, slip stitching, chaining, slip stitching, all the way around until we have 12 total chains, or however many that we have in that specific row, increasing by 1 chain every single row. Then we're going to slip stitch into that final slip stitch at the beginning of the row, the one we did directly into the space. Then you're going to slip stitch into all of these chains until you reach the middle. Then you're going to slip stitch directly into the space, increasing your chain amount by 1 more than the previous row until you reach the diameter of your head, and I'm going to explain that right now. First thing you're going to want to do is measure the circumference of your head. My head is about 23 inches, which I have this awesome crochet hat size chart that I found on Google, and it says that my head, for the head measurement 22 to 23 inches, would be an adult size extra large. And right next to it, the hat crown box, right next to adult extra large 22 to 23 inches, it says that the diameter of my hat should be 7.5 to 8 inches. And I made the diameter of my hat 7.5 inches, and it fit me a tad bit tight, which is kind of what you want. It will bag out as you wear it. But for this hat that I made here for the tutorial, it ended up being 8.5 inches because I accidentally used a bigger hook size than I did for my black hat. And I had to frog this one because it fit me too largely. But for my black hat, I stopped at 15 chains. And for this one, I also stopped at 15 chains because I thought it would fit me right, but I didn't use the correct hook size, so it did not fit me. It was much too big. But basically, you're just going to continue on increasing your chain count by 1 every single row, making sure to measure it as you go along, following that chart that I popped up. Whatever your measurements are, remember mine were 23, so then I went right next to it and saw that the diameter of my hat should be 7.5 to 8 inches. So you just keep following that same exact pattern that I showed you until you reach the diameter that you need for your head size. And now that I've reached the diameter that I need for my head size, I'm going to, because I have my 15 chains, now I'm going to do the same thing that we have been doing this entire time, slip stitching into the back loops of this first chain 15 loop here, into the back loops of the chain until I reach the middle of this big chain 15 loop. So just continue on. And now what we're doing, since I've reached the size that I need for my head, well, technically too big, but I didn't know that at the time. Now we need to make the sides of our hat. So we're not going to do any increasing at all. I'm just going to do my chain of 15. Whatever chain amount that you leave off on, that is the chain that you're going to be doing, that chain amount that you're going to be doing for the sides of your hat. So I've reached the middle of this chain 15 loop, so I'm going to slip stitch directly into it nice and fairly loosely. And I'm going to go ahead and chain 15 and slip stitch into the next loop, but we're not increasing anymore because we need the sides of our hat to go down, just like I showed a couple minutes ago of my black hat, how the sides go down. So here I am just slip stitching my chain 15 into this loop here, chaining 15 again, and you're going to do this for however long you need your hat to be. And also on that chart that I popped up that I found online, it does show you like hat lengths that you need. I didn't follow it I didn't really think to follow it. I actually didn't know about this chart until like a couple days ago, but I popped it up here so it would be helpful to you guys, but it probably would have been helpful to me too. But I basically just went off of my personal measurements at like, you know, just whatever my measurements were. So yeah, that chart was super helpful. It also does say the length, but I didn't go off of that. I'm not sure if it's accurate or at all. So you just keep on going with the same exact pattern of whatever chain that you left off on. Like if you left off on 12 chains, you're going to want to continue to do 12 chains for the entire length of your hat. So since I left off on 15, I'm going to do the chain 15, slip stitch, chain 15 for 4 more rows. So you might need to do fewer, you might need to do more, but I'm just going to continue on doing our same exact pattern, but sticking to only chaining 15 and not increasing every single row like we've been doing. So I just did that for 4 more rows. And now I'm going to do this little picot edge here because the hat is done, but I really want to make this little fancy edge. So basically what I did was I single crocheted 7, and then the 8th single crochet, I did a picot, and then I did 7 more because this is a chain of 15, so I want to do 15 single crochets. But then that middle single crochet, I did a picot. Since I ended on an odd number, it worked out really well. So if you don't end up on an odd number, you could add another, like if you end up on an even number, you could just add another single crochet, or I think like it wouldn't really matter, like you wouldn't notice, just so that your single crochet with the picot can be in the middle. So I slip stitched into that final slip stitch before the chain 15, and now I am chaining 1, and I'm going to go directly into that same slip stitch with a single crochet. And then in this chain 15 space, I'm going to put 15 single crochets, but the middle single crochet, which will be the 8th one, I'm going to do a picot. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then for that 8th single crochet, and that middle single crochet, I'm going to do a picot. So I'm going to chain 3, and then I'm going to do a picot by slip stitching into the first chain, and then back into the loop with the last 7 single crochets to finish off and make it a total of 15. So 7 normal single crochets, then the 8th single crochet will be a picot, and then 7 more single crochets directly into this chain 15 loop. And if your hat left off with an even number of chains, like let's just say 14, you could always, for this final border, just add in an extra single crochet just so that your count is an odd number and that your middle single crochet, just like mine, can be a picot. So once I'm done with this first one, I'm going to go into the next chain 15 loop, just directly into it, this next one right here, and I'm going to do those 15 single crochets, but I'm doing 7 just regular single crochets, and then in the 8th one, which is the middle, I'm going to chain 3 and do a picot by slip stitching into the front loop of that single crochet, of that 8th single crochet, and then doing the 7 remaining single crochets. So I'm just doing my first 7 single crochets here, and then for the 8th one, I'm going to chain 3, then slip stitch into the first chain to make a picot, and then make the rest of the 7 remaining single crochets for a total of 15. just making that middle single crochet a picot by chaining 3 and slip stitching into the first chain. And I'm just going to keep on repeating this. I'm going to go right into the next chain 15 space. I'm going to put 7 single crochets, and then the 8th single crochet I'm going to chain 3 and slip stitch into the first chain. Then I'm going to put the 7 remaining single crochets in that same loop. Then I'm going to go to the next chain 15 loop and repeat the exact same thing. And I'm going to do this all the way around in every single chain 15 loop. And now I've made it all the way back around. So I'm going to slip stitch into that first single crochet that I made. And I'm going to chain 1, cut my yarn, and my hat is complete. Again, I do end up frogging this entire hat because it was way too big on me, but I will show you how I attach the beads on my black hat. I really do love how that one turned out. To me, it kind of gives the vibe of those 1920s beaded hats that they used to wear. And here I am just attaching the beads at the end. And you don't have to attach beads if you don't want to. You could also attach shells if that's more your vibe, if you like the mermaid core aesthetic. But I really love how the black hat and the black beads all look together. It definitely does give me very vintage vibes, and I love that. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish up attaching on my beads, and I will see you for the final reveal and then our final tutorial, which will be the beautiful filet crochet headband. And here we are on the final pattern, the filet crochet headband. And usually with filet crochet, figuring out how many chains you need to make your beginning chain is one of the hardest parts, but you don't have to worry because I already did that for you. As with any filet crochet project, you first want to count the width of your boxes, like how many boxes you have going horizontally. And you don't have to count them because they're already counted. There is 57 horizontal boxes. And then you're going to multiply that by 2, which equals 114. And then you're going to take that 114 and add an extra 1 to finish the last box, which is now a total of 115. And then for the turning chain, you need to chain an extra 2. So you're going to chain a total of 117 chains. And I will have a link to the Google Drive folder that this graph is in. I made this on Stitch Fiddle, and I was inspired by a lot of vintage floral filet crochet designs, but a lot of them were way too wide, and that just wouldn't work for the headband. Like even this one, I was debating on it being too wide, but it ended up working really well. So I just reconfigured everything that I saw, designed this one, and I'm really happy with the end result. So the link to the Google Drive folder will be in the description for you guys to all have access to. Now that I have my 117 chains done, we're going to do the first row together. And the first row, as you can see, it's all open boxes, and open boxes are literally just the mesh stitch, and the mesh stitch is super simple. All the open boxes are the mesh stitch. The open boxes are white and the closed boxes are black. So now in the 5th chain from my hook, I'm going to put my first double crochet. So see here, my chains are so small. I'm using my very tiny thread and my 1.5 millimeter hook. And this is the yarn type that you're definitely going to want to use for this project. Very thin thread, crochet thread, and a 1.5 millimeter hook. And as you can see, I'm going under 2 loops of the chain. In that 5th chain from my hook, under 2 loops of the chain, and I'm going to put a double crochet right in that 5th chain from my hook, because that creates a double crochet, chain 1. Now I'm going to chain 1, skip a stitch, skip a chain, go into the next chain, under 2 loops, remember, of the chain with a double crochet, then I'm going to chain 1, skip a stitch, skip a chain, go into the next chain with a double crochet. See how I'm going under 2 loops of the chain? And I'm just putting a double crochet in that chain there. Here's what it's looking like. Now I'm going to chain 1 again, skip the next chain, go into the next with a double crochet, making sure to go under both loops of the chain. Chain 1, skip a chain, go into the next under both loops with a double crochet, chain 1, skip a chain, go into the next with a double crochet, and that is basically it for this row. That's all you're going to do. You're going to chain 1, skip a chain, go into the next with a double crochet, chain 1, skip a chain, go into the next with a double crochet, making sure that you're going under both loops of the chain. And I'm just going to continue this all the way down my chain, doing the same mesh pattern. And I am only showing you in this video how to do this first row, because the second row and all the rest of the rows are doing the filet crochet technique. And I just posted a video on how to do this, on how to filet crochet in my baby doll dragonfly dress. I have a whole snippet on how to filet crochet, so I'm actually not going to explain how to filet crochet in this video because I explain it really in detail in that video. The reason that I showed you how to do row 1 in this video is because I do row 1 completely different for the dragonfly dress pattern. It's actually, I do a foundation double crochet in that video, so row 1 is completely different for that pattern. But for this pattern, this is what you do, and you're going to go to that video at 34 minutes and 41 seconds. I'll also have a pop-up on screen for that, but it starts from row 2, and it basically just shows you all the ins and outs on how to filet crochet. So you're going to go ahead and watch that video if you don't already know how to filet crochet, so then you can learn. And it doesn't matter what pattern it is, the concept and the teaching of filet crochet is all the same, so you guys will understand it based on that video, and then you can go ahead and follow the pattern that I have in the description to make your own headband. And I'll meet back up with you once you guys are finished with the grid portion of the headband, and then I'll show you how to make the straps. Or I guess they're more so ties than straps, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Let's go ahead and make the ties now that we are done with the grid portion of the headband. So I'm just going in this double crochet here right at the end of the last row, and I already tied in my yarn, so I'm just going to pull up a loop I'm going to chain 3, which counts as a double crochet, and chain 1. And this spot right here, we're going to count that as a chain 1 space that we're going to skip in our mesh pattern. So I'm going to yarn over and skip that, in quotes, chain 1 space, and go into this stitch here that is going to be acting as our double crochet. Because for the mesh pattern, we always skip the chain 1 spaces and go into the previous row's double crochet. So now I'm going to chain 1, skip that, again, fake chain 1 space here, and go into this double crochet right here. Kind of looks like a double crochet. Chain 1, skip the chain 1 space. That's actually the bar of a double crochet. Then go into that next stitch with a double crochet. Chain 1, skip that gap there. Go into the next stitch with a double crochet. Chain 1, skip the bar. Go into the next stitch with a double crochet. And I'm just going to repeat this all the way down the side of our grid here. Doing a double crochet, chain 1, so you can see that's what it's looking like so far. Now I'm going to chain 1 here again, skip the bar, go into that stitch, and just keep on repeating this all the way down the side. And here I am at the end. I'm just chaining 1, then going into that final space there with a double crochet. And there I have my first row done. And now we're going to go ahead and start doing some decreasing. So I'm going to chain 3, turn my work, and I'm going to go into the next available double crochet with a double crochet, skip the next chain 1 space, go into the next double crochet, chain 1, skip the chain 1 space, go into the top of the next previous row's double crochet, doing the same exact mesh pattern that I showed you how to do in the beginning. Just chain 1, skip, go into the next stitch with a double crochet, chain 1, skip, go into the next stitch with a double crochet. And then we're just going to continue doing this until we have 2 stitches left, because then we're going to do a decrease. That chain 3 that we did in the beginning counts as the first decrease of this row. We're doing them at the beginning and at the end of the row, so that chain 3 counted as the first decrease, and now here we have our 2 stitches left, and we're going to do our final decrease in these last 2 stitches. So I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into that next double crochet, yarn over. I have 3 loops in my hook right now. I'm going to yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, so I have my 2 loops on my hook from that not finishing that double crochet, and I'm going to yarn over twice, skip the chain 1, and insert my hook into the top of the chain 2. Now I have 5 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over, pull through 2, 4 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2. I've got 3 loops on my hook, and I'm going to yarn over and pull through all 3 loops on my hook to make this somewhat triangle looking shape at the end here, and that is our decrease. So I'm going to chain 3 relatively tightly because this is part of our decrease as well. This stitch is part of the decrease, this chain 3. So now, as you can see here, we have that previous row's triangle that we made. I'm going to skip that whole stitch and go into the next double crochet from the previous row with a double crochet. Then I'm going to chain 1, skip a stitch, go into the next with a double crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, go into the next with a double crochet, and repeat this until I reach the end. And I have 2 stitches left, not counting the chain 3. So as you can see, I have 2 regular double crochets left in that chain 3. That chain 3 does not count. So you need to have 2 regular double crochets left. Do not count the chain 3 as a stitch anymore. It is part of our decrease. So now I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into that next double crochet, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, leave those 2 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over twice, insert my hook into the next double crochet right here, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, 4 loops on my hook, yarn over, pull through 2, 3 loops left on my hook. I'm going to yarn over and I'm going to pull through all 3 remaining loops on my hook to make this final decrease. Looks like a little triangle there. And this is what it's going to look like once you're done. So now we're going to go ahead and chain 3 again. 1, 2, 3. Turn your work. And then in that next double crochet, that regular double crochet there, not that decrease that we made, we're skipping that and the chain 1. We're going to go directly into that next double crochet right there, putting a double crochet in that stitch, chain 1, skip a stitch, go into the next with a double crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, go into the next with a double crochet, repeating the same mesh pattern until you have 2 double crochets left, not counting the chain 3. You need to have 2 regular double crochets left to do the decrease in. So I'm going to keep on going until I have those 2 regular double crochets left. And here I have my 2 regular double crochets left. So I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into the stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, leaving those 2 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over twice, insert my hook into the last double crochet of this row. I'm going to pull up a loop, 5 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, 3 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over and pull through 3. And now for the next row, I'm going to repeat the exact same thing. I'm going to chain 3, turn my work, and I'm going to skip the next chain 1 space, and I'm going to go into the top of the next double crochet, this stitch right here, with a double crochet, and then I'm going to repeat the same mesh pattern, chain 1, skip a stitch, go into the next with a double crochet, chain 1, skip, go into the next with a double crochet until I have 2 regular double crochets left, not counting that chain 3. And the rows are definitely going to get faster because we are decreasing, and it is in turn making our rows much shorter. So here I have my 2 stitches left, and I'm going to do that same decrease that we've been doing right in these final 2 stitches, just repeating the exact same decrease that we've been doing for the last couple rows. Now I'm going to chain 3 again for this next row, turn my work, And in the next double crochet, I'm going to put a double crochet, chain 1, skip, go into the next with a double crochet, following the same mesh pattern until we have 2 regular old double crochets left. And we already do. So I'm going to do the decrease in those 2 stitches. I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into the next double crochet, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops on my hook. I'm going to yarn over twice, insert my hook into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 3. And there we are. Now I'm going to chain 3 and turn my work. And now we are going to stop decreasing because we have a total of 3 boxes left, not counting our decreases. So now is when we just stop decreasing because we have 3 boxes left. So I'm just going to go into the next double crochet with a double crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, go into the next with a double crochet, chain 1, skip a stitch, go into the next with a double crochet, because we want to stop once we have 3 open boxes, which we have here. So now we can just stop doing our decreasing and do these same rows of 3. These rows of 3 are what our ties are going to be. This is going to be the row that we're going to do for practically an eternity. These quick open box, 3 open box meshed rows, they're just going to be the ones that we're going to be doing for a very long time to create the ties that we can use to tie our headband to our head. So we're just going to be doing these for quite some time. I'll show you how to do a couple of them, but once you get it, you'll be able to just crank them out, get them done. So we're going to go ahead and do a chain of 3, but remember how we were making our chain 3s tight? You don't want to make these too tight anymore because now the double crochet, the chain 2, is going to count as a double crochet, the chain 1 is going to count as a chain 1. So don't make these too tight because, yeah, the chain 3 counts as a double crochet and a chain 1. So I'm going to skip the next chain 1 space, go into the next double crochet with a double crochet, chain 1, skip the next chain 1 space, go into the next double crochet with a double crochet, chain 1, skip the next chain 1, and go into the top of the chain 2, and that is literally it. That is the row that you're going to be repeating for however long you want your ties to be. That is literally the row that we're repeating forever, but I'll do it once more with you guys. So you're going to chain 3, which counts as a double crochet, and chain 1. You're going to turn your work, and you're going to skip the next chain 1 space and go into the next double crochet with a double crochet, chain 1, skip the next chain 1 space, go into the top of the previous row's next double crochet, then you're going to chain 1, skip the next chain 1, go into the top of the chain 2 that counts as a double crochet, and again you're just going to repeat this for however long you want your ties to be. Just repeat this same row over and over and over. And now I have my ties all finished, so I don't really like this rough edge. I want to add a cutesy little scalloped border to it, so I'm going to go ahead and join in my yarn in one of these gaps here. just in any of them, doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna pick one at random, it doesn't matter. You can start in literally any of these gaps. So I'm just gonna join my yarn in this one. I already tied my yarn in place, so I'm gonna pull up a loop and chain 1. Chain 1 there. And in that same space, you're supposed to put a single crochet. I definitely forgot to do that, but please put a single crochet into that space. I forgot, that was my bad. And then you're gonna go into the next space with 5 double crochets. To make a little scallop. And then you're going to go right into the next space with a single crochet. Then you're going to go into the next space with 5 double crochets again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and then you're going to single crochet into the next space, and there's what it's looking like so far. Added another one. It looks so cute. I love it. So you're just going to continue on doing the same thing. In the next stitch, the next space rather, you're going to put 5 double crochets. Then in the next space, you're going to put a single crochet. Then in the next space, you're going to put 5 double crochets. Then the next space, you're going to put 1 single crochet. And you're just going to repeat this all the way around in every single space. And y'all, this took me an eternity. I have no idea why this took me so long. I feel like it's just a tedious process. There's so many double crochets. It's such a tiny hook and such tiny yarn. But yeah, it did take me an eternity to do. So yeah, you're just going to switch back and forth. I already did my 5 double crochets, so I'm going right here into the next space with a single crochet. Now in the next space, that next gap, I'm going to put 5 double crochets, and in the next gap I'm going to put a single crochet, in the next gap I'm going to put 5 double crochets. Just flip-flopping this back and forth. It's very simple, it's very mindless. I just watched a movie and cranked it out. It took me so long. I feel like it took me longer than a movie, but I'm not 100% sure. It was very tedious. So it definitely was worth it though. It makes it look so much better. I'm just going to go ahead and continue doing this, and once we're both done, we're going to weave in our ends, and that is it. That is the last pattern of this very long video. I hope you guys really liked this video. Let me know if you want to see more videos like this. I did want to make one similarly. I did a long time ago make one of like home decor, and I kind of want to make another one like that with a bunch of tutorials in one. But I have a really good idea of something that I want to make next. I don't know if it's actually going to work, the idea that I have, but it's going to be a knit item, and I don't know, I might do a pattern for it and like a tutorial for it. But anyway, I'm already getting ahead of myself. I hope you guys really liked this video and that you make at least one, if not more, of these patterns. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos just like this, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.